In many ways, our traditional institutions are not ready. They're not at all ready for the world we live in right now. It's not like they're not ready to make a change. They're not ready for the reality of today. There's a dilemma for leaders in the digital age, which is to give up all of the things that made your institution great over the last 100, 200, 300 years, to figure out a new radically connected way of doing it, or to just close your eyes and continue on the traditional path. The world we're living in is a very different one, and it's a challenge. It's a very serious challenge for leadership. I love journalism. I love journalism, but it's very clear that the last 150 years, almost all the journalism we have was paid for with advertising. And it's pretty clear that the next 150 years, advertising is not going to pay for most of the journalism we have. And so what do you do with a newspaper? What do you do with an institution that is where journalism is lived in the institution of newspapers? Almost all of the serious journalism in the United States is in newspapers. And yet, newspapers the business model doesn't work online. That's the challenge. Like, I love journalism. I hate newspapers. I even hate the size. It's like such an uncomfortable size. But I love journalism, and right now, most journalism is paid for with newspapers. That is the dilemma we're facing, is how do we either do a serious reform of our existing institutions or build completely new institutions that are built on the rules of the new modern era. You know, ignorance is not allowed for our leaders on technical issues. You can look here at the United States, healthcare.gov. The signature main accomplishment of the president, the website didn't work when they started it. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? Leadership, we must demand that our leaders have technical literacy. They don't have to know how to write code, but they have to know what questions to ask. And they have to know, I like to say, they have to know the difference between a waiter and a server. One of the things I hate most is at the Apple Store, they call the tech support the Genius Bar. And I hate that. They are not geniuses. And it is very, very dangerous for them to think they're geniuses and for us to think they're geniuses. I talk about nerd disease. I'm a nerd. I'm allowed to say that. I love writing code. But I talk about nerd disease, that nerds love to believe that they have special knowledge and that they don't always want to share it. And they want to make it mysterious. It's for geniuses. It's almost like a religious cult. And it is up to all of us to demand that nerds explain it. It is not actually that complicated, usually. And we can't let them make it complicated. We can't let them make it scary. It's power. We must understand it. And it is our responsibility as citizens, as people in communities, to learn more about the technology, to educate ourselves, to have technical literacy. But it's also the responsibility of the nerds to look at things with a public mind, with a civic orientation, to think about the community and not about what is fun to build or how to protect a special kind of knowledge. In many ways, I think that small is necessarily the only way we're going to survive. That if we take climate change seriously, our entire system is built upon big. I go to the grocery store and I buy grapes from Chile and oranges from Florida and prosciutto from Italy that is created at enormous expense and flown to my town so that I can have it cheaply. and all of the ways and systems, all the ways that our institutions work to create our modern life, we have to reimagine them because of climate change. We have to turn to more local-based systems of governing, of food production, of manufacturing, 3D printing, of sharing. The future of humanity actually depends on small, on little, on each of us being really connected to each other in intimate and true ways that will ultimately make us more powerful and help us build a better world. I mean, I think we're living in a moment right now of tremendous opportunity. I'm not sure we've had a moment like this since Athens, since the Greeks in Athens decided to do away with hereditary monarchy and build the first republic. That's the moment we're living in. We can decide how this is going to work. We can decide what it means to be a human on this earth, to organize our communities. Our technology makes everything possible. We're living in a moment of enormous abundance, but it's up to us to seize that moment, to talk about what it means for our institutions, for our disciplines, for our values, to figure out how this is going to all come together. If newspapers aren't going to be how we fund journalism, then let's figure out what will be. But that creates a real responsibility for each of us to take technology seriously, to be technically literate, to think about what it means when our technology encounters our world, and shape it in directions that make sense, that work, that are good.